Little Hand says it's time to rock and roll.
Bring the noise.
Go.
Good evening, folks, and welcome to the Etims podcast. My name is Desi, and tonight I'm joined by our regulars, Hector Bandito. Good evening. Good evening, Hector.
Good evening.
Thank you. All the way from Stoke, the former pilot of the Tarrier Carrier, Ralph Mouth. Good evening, Ralph.
How you doing? You all right? How you doing?
Fine. And of course, our regular. I was going to say the man in the suit, but to be fair, when I look at his Sky picture, he's standing with the man in the suit. So it's a regular Thai man, but not a Thai Tim's man, Andybhoy. How you doing, Andy?
I'm good. How's yourself?
I'm fine, thanks very much. Okay, of course, we usually start it with the big talking points of the day, so I'll come straight to you, Ralph. Belle in Emmerdale, has her fake pregnancy been exposed? Discuss. Well, a nation holds its breath. We digress. Thanks very much for joining, guys. Okay, straight on to the big talking point this week. Last night's Champions League game. I'll come to you first, Hector. Did you enjoy it at all? Hector?
I thought it was a great game of football. I thought it was a great game of football last night. First half was terrific, wasn't it? First 45 minutes was really good. 3-0, we're coasting, but I thought some of the football was brilliant to watch, and the movement in particular it's been brilliant to see this season. I think was it the second goal and the first goal. It was actually Sinclair who kind of playing in the left wing, but he's cut through the centre for the first, and the second goal, which is the run for Toure, he's moved to inside right channel. So it's that movement that's making us look at just a totally different team this season. Obviously, losing 2 goals start the second half, the bum cheeks clenched quite tight at that point, I'm sure for many of us watching it. But it was good. The next 10 minutes, it just calmed it down. He brought on Bartons, took the sting out of the game, kept possession, and then we kind of got things going again. And the other sub came on, Dembele. He looks a really promising player. Really impressed with him. 4-2, Brown with a peach, and I thought 5-2 was a fair result. So great game end to end, and I'm sure as a neutral they would have loved it, but more than happy with a 3-goal margin. Really happy with it.
Andybhoy, I'll come to you. So, did you see anything that made you smile widely, and anything that made you slam this? Were you at the game, Andy? I should say in the finest Jimmy Sanderson voice. Were you at the game, caller?
Yes. So I have the authority to talk about the game that I was at. One thing that caught me about it was we hear a lot of managers talk about pressing, but I noticed last night we seem to be very good at it, and I think James Forrest deserves a wee bit of praise, because a couple of times he actually went deep into our half, won possession back, started to build moves, and it was all over the pitch. I think Sinclair is excellent at it. If you'd read Liam McLeod's article on the BBC website earlier in the week, you would have thought that we were coming up against probably the meanest defence known to mankind, and that we were the underdogs. So with that in mind, it was quite nice to see we gave them a hard time all over the pitch. Through a bit of carelessness, we let them back into it, but I like the fact that we didn't say, right, wait a minute, panic button, let's just settle for 3-2. We went for it, and I'm glad we did, because I think there's a nice confidence about the place just now. So it was good that they went for it. 5-2 was fair enough, but it could easily have been more. So I'm quite confident going into next week. I actually think we could beat them over there as well, based on last night.
Yep, that's a fair point. Is confidence and new buzz about the place then, Ralph, for Celtic Park? Can you feel it everywhere around the squad?
You can see it in their faces, you can see it in their body language. And when Hector says we're playing like it's a team, we're playing like a team. people are helping each other. Sinclair is a case in point. He's dragging people all over the place and creating space for others, and that is the biggest difference up front. The way I looked at it, but halfway through the first half, I sat back a wee bit and I thought, you know what, I wouldn't like to be supporting a team playing us, because of, like I say, the pressing was there, everything was there, and if you come up against that, it's difficult to play against. Except when we made an arse in the first 10 minutes, and I get told off for swearing when I was sitting watching in the front room. No, it's a completely different team. It is a team, and that's the biggest difference.
Well, that's interesting to see, because and tying into Andy's point with James Forrest, and if Hector and Andy, if you had managed to get along to the inaugural Etims meetup in Malone's a few weeks ago, then you'd have seen the section of the James Forrest fan club, which we have as part of the readers of the diary group. Let's just say you'll never find anyone who are bigger supporters of James Forrest, and they were giving us a few stories into the background of where things went wrong with James Forrest and Ronnie Delia or Dyler or whatever, and John Collins. Quite a few interesting wee stories about how perhaps nice guy Ronnie was not exactly really nice guy, let's just say, behind the scenes when it came to certain players, and how James Forrest is a total reborn character, as in he's found his confidence again, he believes and understand what a manager's asking of him, so to speak. And like watching him last night, and tying into what Ralph said there, what I loved was, see when like Tory kind of starts the move for the second goal with that big charge, as in I think he get fed up waiting for Scott Brown having to do everything through the middle, so he starts that big. And I like someone in the diary said it was like a feed the bear run, which was kind of quite true. He starts that charge through the middle, lays it, eventually the ball gets to Sinclair, he does that lovely wee turn, he plays it to Forrest, and you can see, when you see the replay, you see Griffiths shouting for the ball, and Forrest does that lovely chip to the back post, Griffiths flies in, beautiful header, goal. And as they're all celebrating, this is starting to come back to the centre circle, so to speak. Griffiths actually stops and goes round and congratulates Forrest with that was you, and that sort of thing, like the whole kind of team ethos. It's not just well done, Lee, you've scored the goal, and they all turn their back or whatever, or somebody makes an arse at, they all kind of, that kind of way it used to be. You do get the impression that it is literally, they've all bought into this plan. This actual idea, and as we're talking about the extra, apparently Hector, Gordon Strachan, I think you mentioned last night on Twitter, Gordon Strachan talking about Celtic seem a lot fitter. Scott Brown is on amphetamines, you think?
Hi, well, it's funny because it's not just online, is it? It's been the site, but you'll see people in Working Friends, and at the end of last season they had half the team were finished. Scott Brown was done, Lustig was done, Forrest was done, but Scott Brown, I think the last 4 games, it's possibly been the best I think I've seen him play. It's not just energy, because he's always had that. It's his passing. There's a stat came out today that 99% of his passes last night were successful. So I think he had like 75 or something passes, and only one wasn't a pass to his teammate. That's phenomenal. That's something I think I've never seen from him. But he was taking players on. He was obviously doing what he does well. He was pressing, being aggressive. But his skill last night, I always thought I was watching a different player. I think, Ralph, you touched upon it. We've kind of lost Scott Brown, but Brendan's re-signed a Scott Brown kind of thing. So yeah. That's a fantastic thing. But the one thing I would say about Rodgers just now, one of you mentioned Ronnie earlier on. You know how Ronnie would talk week after week, and this is very brief. I don't want to talk about Ronnie at all, right? But just it's interesting how Ronnie would say he wants his team to play this way, and we've never seen it. It's as if we're watching Celtic play under Rodgers the way Ronnie was wanting us to play, if that makes sense. He kept talking about high tempo, pressing, fast attacking football, and you were getting wee glimpses of it for say 20 minutes, then it would be finished. But now with Rodgers' team, you can actually see that happening in front of you, and it's terrific to watch right now. And the best thing for me is that we're probably only about 50-60% can be in a month or two, because the players have only started training with him for 6 or 8 weeks. He'll have 1 or 2 more to bring in, so there's a lot more to come for this team, which is really exciting.
That's a very, very good point. That whole playing the way Delia envisaged a team would play, but I don't even you mentioned there maybe for 20 minutes they managed it. I don't even really remember Celtic playing. It's like especially the first half, and the worst thing that happened last night. I'll come to you, Andy. The worst thing that could have happened was the half-time whistle went, and it literally was Celtic kind of had to press the pause button and couldn't find that energy again. And then, and one of the things that annoyed me, not just the fact of losing 2 goals, was the fact that Big Tory ran up the park. We're leading 3-0, and I'm kind of thinking, why are you running up the park at 3-0? There's no need for you. Oh, we should now be developing. And again, it's getting really, really greedy by saying, okay, we're great, but we want to be really, really great. No, that way, it was annoying me the fact that we didn't need a central defender to be storming into the midfield. And if you see their goal, he's literally 10 yards behind their striker. And people are blaming young O'Connell, and I thought, well, that's a bit harsh given the fact that Toure was 40 yards out of the same position, and he should know better.
That's a key. He should have known better. Yeah.
Aye, because for the second goal, the marauding centre half role worked. Toure's on, he's fed it into Sinclair, as we said earlier.
Yep.
But for their first goal, he's too far forward. McGregor's claiming for offside when he should just have his hand down and concentrate on the man. If he's going to put the flag up, he's going to put the flag up. Tierney catches a guy out the side of his eye and moves, which forced O'Connell to move, because actually Tierney wasn't that badly placed, but he's seen a guy coming in through the other side and he's been attracted to him. That goal for them was just a bit of a wee bit of a farce, and then I think the heads went down. But we're saying about the sort of 20-minute spell of dialogue and all that about the fast attacking football at high tempo. The best example of that was probably this time last year, the Malmo game, the first 20 minutes of it. That was probably the best we've played, the high intensity. They couldn't live with it. The problem in that game was we stopped. After 20 minutes, we stopped. We thought, right, we're 2-0 up, we'll sit on it. Whereas the mentality of the team now was when we went 3-0 up, we wanted to go 4-0 up because there was genuine belief that we could. I was saying about the confidence earlier. And they probably could have. There was definite chance there, because I think that first half performance, the confidence must have been surging through the Celtic players, because they realised that team were not up to much, particularly when you pressed them. They were not up to much at all. They didn't like it when you came right at them. They couldn't live with the passing. To go back to Scott Brown's passing stat, I think it was, I've just read it there, it was 71 out of 72 passes, but most of them were in threatening positions. He was encouraging attacking play. It wasn't as if he was just keeping the ball, dropping it back to the centre back, taking it back, feeding it out to the right back and waiting for something to develop. He was trying to get the attacking moves going, and I don't think we've seen that for a wee while, so this is very, very encouraging stuff.
Yeah, it's a good point, and like especially last year it was a lot of the beat on to Brown, to beat on to Brown, to beat on to Brown, and it was like you're like, oh, that's lovely, and you're thinking that's lovely last year, but we're going nowhere. Whereby last night, Ralph, when it was, Andy's highlighting the fact it was mostly gone forward positive, but when it was not, both the team and the crowd were willing to say, that's fine, take a few seconds, play it back to Gordon, take your time, play it back to Tory, take it back off them. We don't need to charge all the time, we don't need to be constantly chasing for these kind of goals every second of every minute. We're starting to see a wee bit more kind of, not even, like, obviously we're asking, Brendan Rodgers asked us to be more patient, but we actually seen a wee bit more maturity start to creep in. People are getting a wee bit more experience and they know exactly that they can relax a wee bit more.
Possibly, Rodgers did ask for that patience from the support, and he also thanked the support for that patience last night as well. Which again, to go back to Dyler's idea of pressing football, maybe it's just that he couldn't get that idea across. Maybe he's not a good enough man manager or communicator to get that idea across to the players, and that's what Rodgers has done. That's an essential difference. Down here, ITV showed the highlights of the game late on, and John Collins was on the panel, the expert. And when Griffiths scored his header, Collins said that was what we got out of Griffiths. That's what he's good at, is coming in from the left and finishing off. Now, Griffiths is the kind of player that just does what he does. He's at his best when he's by himself, but he needs the creative players around him as well. And that might have been them putting across to Griffiths, this is what we want you to do, but him doing his own thing anyway, and their failure to manage him, if you like. So there have been some subtle changes between management and players, and it was evident in that game. Although I did think it did remind me of the Partizan game, when it went to 3-2.
Yeah.
The name Jakinovski kept springing to mind, and I thought, oh no, this is going to happen again. We're going to make an arse here. But even if we had stayed at 3-2, like Andy said there, I think we'll beat them over there as well. I don't think there's much to them, but I think there's a lot more to us than what we think.
We now have Hector sitting reminiscing about days in the Cotton Club with Jakinovski and Paul Elliott.
Drinking
our
buddies.
glory days in the old Glasgow city centre. Andy, I think you're maybe too young for that. Ralph, the Cotton Club. The Cotton. So are we. Don't worry about that. But we still went to dancing. Ralph,
I was at primary school then.
Playing that card, outside the primary school. Ralph, you touched on it today. The movement and mentioned the diary. The actual movement, especially off the ball, which was one of Scott Sinclair's, one of the criteria which was highlighted when we signed Scott Sinclair, is that he actually moves when he doesn't have the ball, and we're seeing James Forrest do it a lot more. And like last night, where I was sitting, I had a really good view of Lee Griffiths constantly coming to try and get the ball in the first 20 minutes and getting frustrated because he's got his back to goal, and at the very most he was able to lay it off a few times, but ultimately it was coming to nothing. But then suddenly he gets James Forrest a shout, and he's just coming in and face the goal, perfect header and goal. So again, it's really promising to see the fact that I think they do seem to be getting a lot more clever play and a lot better understanding. So Scott Sinclair was everywhere for the first 20 minutes, as in you didn't really know what position he was playing. So Hector, from a tactics point of view, how well does this bode for Celtic, or is it a case of we just need to kind of keep these systems as fluid as possible? Is that the modern way, or are we going to start kind of, when Roberts comes back, etc., are we going to start kind of getting a wee bit more fixed, or do you think it's going to be depending on the opposition for every game?
I think what Rodgers has shown, and that's probably one of the things that is really staring us in the face just now, is he's done more tactical changes in 90 minutes than Ronnie probably did in 2 seasons. I mean, he's changing from one up front, 2 wide guys, 4-3-3. He's went to 4-2-3-1. He's went to 4-4-2, and at times last night he went 4-2-4 with the 2 wingers really up wide, as well as Dembele and Griffiths. So he's actually changing. He's very fluid throughout the match. If it's working, he obviously won't change it. But if things start to go against the club or it's not quite working, he'll change things. So for us, that's a big bonus. Because remember, last night, it's only really Toure who was a free transfer, and Sinclair. The other 9 guys were there last season. So that shows you, the change in that team with him in that short period of time, with only 2 changes. Sinclair arguably is the biggest one in terms of movement. But to play that style of football in such a short period of time is phenomenal. So I think Rodgers should be taking enormous credit so far. It's very early doors. But what excites me the most is that he's clearly going to bring in, all being well, another 2, maybe 3 first 11 players. You know he's going to do that. And that's what gets me thinking, crikey, if we can get to the Champions League, he could build a really, really good, exciting team in a very short period of time. So there's a lot to look ahead to, I think.
Yeah. We'll come on to the players in a few minutes. But what I was going to say first of all was Andy, Lee Griffiths. I've just got a few notes here. So I've got Bruni Reborn, and I've got Lee Griffiths leading, with a wee playing words with leading. Obviously the great season last season, but one of the things I noted in the early ratings was the fact that he has truly stepped up to be like the main guy not even under Scott Brown. I'd say he's like literally leading the way along with Scott Brown now on. I mean, like that way he's went from just being a good wee Scottish striker to being our Super Lee Griffiths kind of thing.
Yeah. I wrote a wee article when he scored his 50th league goal, or his 50th goal for Celtic. I can't remember exactly. And I think I pointed out we signed him for 1.2 million. And I think then I said if a team from the English Premier League were to come in for him, I was expecting, you'd say maybe about 8 million at that time. Now, given what he's showing to be doing now, I think that's going up a wee bit. I don't think he's going anywhere. I don't think he wants to go anywhere. But it's good to see he's developing consistently, and not just as a player, but I think there's a wee bit as a person as well, because he was everybody's favourite wee bam to get stuck into for a while. And I think there's maturity on and off the pitch, which is starting to show. He could very well have had a hat-trick last night. If Scott Sinclair, who nearly scored one, had seen him, I think he would have slipped him in and it would have been a tap-in. Didn't stop working. As you said, the first 20 minutes, he was dropping deep to get the ball. I noticed that the whole game. He was dropping deep. I also noticed at times he was making runs purely to try and drag their defenders out of positions, and sometimes they fell for it. I think he showed them up quite a bit. Whereas this time last year, would they been able to do that? Did they have the awareness to do it? I don't know. It's just good to see a guy who scored 40 goals last season start the season well, but also look as if he's getting better. And I think that's very, very encouraging again. So I'd say leading would be a good way of putting it, however you're going to spell it.
Yep. Okay, and that also helps bring us on to a good point as of a guy who had a really good season last year and picking up from where he left off. What about a guy who's literally just came in, Ralph, and Dembele, the young Emil Heskey I've been calling him, because that's who he just reminds me, and the whole physique and the presence. Like he was literally playing right in front of my seat last night, so I had a perfect view. And his first challenge, he won the ball. His first aerial challenge, he won the ball. No, just like a few minutes before the corner, and you're kind of like that guy. I mean, like I would imagine Chieftain coming on that park and never kicking or even touching the ball. That's the idea. Whereas Dembele's come in a few, probably not even a few months now, but like 6 weeks or whatever, scored some vital goals, and it just looks as though he's getting better and better with every game.
He looked terrified when he came on last night.
Have you
His eyes darting right and left. And
have you seen that gif? Don't put me on. Don't put me on, boss. I'm fleeing, and it looks like somebody on drugs just about captured images.
But that goal he scored, the penalty he scored against Astana, must have made a big difference to him. That took a hell of a lot of courage, because he'd not scored up till that point, and that goal pretty much put us through. If he'd have missed, it could have gone to extra time. Nails would have set in. That was vital that penalty was scored, and to step up and do it, and to do it so casually, he shows us a player in there. The good thing for him is that he doesn't have to come in and make a name for himself straight away, because Griffiths is there to take the pressure off. So he can be brought in gradually and nurtured, I think is the right words. And there's a player in there, definitely a player in there. And it's a fantastic signing. And you get people slating him because, he's not done this, he's not done that. At this stage, he doesn't have to. Just needs to get himself in, get used to the place, and take it from there. Because that's two good strikers there.
Well,
if they can play together, that's even better.
Exactly. I think he's done terrific. And even there was a few nice wee link-ups with Griffiths. And maybe no actually led to, like, say, a direct goal or whatever. But you just see them starting to get an understanding that when Dembele goes up to challenge for a high ball, he knows where he's meant to put it down. That kind of Sutton and Larson kind of relationship. Obviously, it's early days, but that same idea whereby beforehand we've just had centre forwards and number 10s who don't have any sense of a relationship over the last few years. So yeah, definitely really good. So we'll quickly touch on, before we come back to last night's game, Hector. Brendan has said he still has plans in respect to other players. As my friend on the way to the game last night said, if we qualify next week, this is before last night's result, if we qualify next week, basically that's the whole of Brendan Rodgers' expenditure, including players, paid for over the whole of Brendan Rodgers' contract. That's the sort of reward you get for actually, that kind of you get what you pay for kind of thing. So we've got a keeper in who looks to be giving Craig Gordon at least a challenge, for a real challenge. Where else do you think he's going to look to strengthen? And who could suffer?
Yeah. I think there's two positions for me. One's that holding defensive midfielder, but it's also a kind of playmaker. So you know the way, like, obviously not quite the same level, but Pirlo would just sit in front of defence, get the ball and move on. And obviously Joe Allen was a guy who liked a lot Rodgers, who would kind of do a similar role. I think we need someone there who can just sit in front of defence, but it's not just defensive minded. Isn't just spoiling the game, but it's getting the ball and moving the ball quickly, keeping the tempo moving. I think that's the most important position we need strengthened in the first 11. And I think we need another striker in, because we're going to play two strikers a lot this season, and we need another one to come in to back them up in case there's injuries, whatever. And it wouldn't surprise me if he tries to get a number 10, a true number 10. I think Rogic is okay, but you see if he gets 60 minutes out of him or 45 minutes out of him. I think if he gets a chance at a really good loan player, and I wouldn't rule that out, I think we could get a really good player in. Not naming a name yet, but I think we could get a good one in.
Andybhoy, any thoughts? So what on Hector's suggestions? Where would Scott Brown still fit into that team, Andybhoy, in the current place? No, and again, this me asking the question on the current way he's playing, as in he is the guy that's going and getting the ball from the centre half and driving it forward. That sort of way. Do you tinker with that sort of idea? Where else? So where would the defensive playmaker kind of guy fit in there?
Well, I think he would be alongside them, particularly in Champions League games, if we get there. I think there is another possibility that I thought of. I was thinking how much Brown has improved, and Forrest, as we discussed, and one or two others. I know that Beaton's been injured, but is there scope for him to do that job? I don't know. But I would certainly like to see us get someone else in centre midfield. As said there, someone who can protect the back four but move the ball quickly on. I think Rodgers always sets his team up with a player like that. Did he not try to get Steven Gerrard into that position when he went to Liverpool? Did he not try and get him as the sort of base of a diamond? I can't remember off the top of my head, but someone who can do the job that was just mentioned there would be ideal, and I definitely think we need another striker. I'm absolutely convinced of that. As much as I think Chief G's been alright and the odd friendly or whatever I've seen him play, he looks like a guy that's just going to run, but he's not actually going to hurt our team, apart from us, maybe. So I would say defensive midfielder who can get the ball moving quickly would definitely be a good shout, but again, maybe keep an eye on Beaton and that if they can kick him on a bit. But another striker, and the number 10 thing, I think there's plenty of guys that could play that already there, but again, if something becomes available, then
Andy, what I was getting at was is a real lift in quality. I think we've got a lot of young guys like Rogic and Christie and that, but I'm looking for somebody, if we get to the Champions League, who is a level above these guys, which is what we'd need. Even in loan for a season, what we'd need.
Yeah, definitely. The other one that was we were talking about it when we were home for the game last night. A few of the boys were mentioning the right back area. A few people are saying, is Lustig better suited to becoming more as a centre back now? Has he get the legs to overlap? Has he get the legs to go forward? I know when we're kind of say a 4-3-3, or we go 4-4-2 or 4-5-1. But when we're with the ball, we switch to a back three, and he comes in then. I'm wondering on that one. I'm not too sure, but because Janko looks as if he's got all the physical attributes to be a good player, but I don't know if he's got the decision making and the wherewithal to be a good player yet. So I wonder if there's maybe something at right back area that could be considered, because I think we're okay at left back.
Well, I wrote that in the ratings last night, that Lustig and Toure, I would say, are your two classy defenders, let's say. But I think both of them should be targeted in games this year, as in it should be, you will play the Champions League. Their priority is the Champions League and probably the Rangers game and Aberdeen, possibly Hearts. But the rest will have to start looking at rotation and lots of rest. That's the idea. Let's just make sure it's quality over quantity when it comes, so we don't burn these players out. Or again, Lustig took a knock last night, and you could see him kind of hobbling back after one of the overlaps, where he went in for a tackle and he ended up hobbling back and kind of shook it off, but he just ended up having to gear up. Then you can't really expect Janko. Somebody was having a go at him today, and I thought he done perfectly well to come into a game where Celtic were rocking, especially on Celtic's right-hand side last night, and he came in and did help firm it up, and there was no more goals coming down that side of the park. And I thought people were a bit arse to say, oh no, he never done this and he never done that. I mean, he made a cracking tackle towards the end where we were still kind of sitting with our fists in our mouths hoping just the referee would blow the whistle. So that's interesting, the whole right back and the kind of defence. Ralph, have you spotted any, is Balotelli signed for Port Vale yet, or do you think we can get him? We can get him up at Parkhead?
I don't think it's a question so much of what positions that we need to fill, in so much as we keep this feel-good factor going where we're bringing players in and they're lifting the team. It doesn't matter if it's a forward, it doesn't matter if it's a midfielder or a defender. If it's somebody that comes in that's proven quality, it lifts everybody around them as well. We've seen that with Forrest and Brown playing better just because there's better players in with them. And that's no disrespect to your Christies and all the other ones and the Armstrongs and that, but I think we're about to go up a level, and I think whoever comes in whatever position, it'll be somebody that knows a bit more about the game, and that's where we need to be back at.
Well, again, yep, and I think it could be early days, but
it's the same as Forrest, a better player now that we've got Roberts.
I mean,
there's a number of factors, but that's
I also put that in the Hun lines today. Don't remember, we'll still get Patrick Roberts coming back. He'll probably be back for, if no next midweek, the following league game. We've got Eric on the bench. We've got Simonovic. Findlay, he's almost ready to come back. We've got Boyata, which I made a joke of today, whereby with Roberts going, don't forget, I'm on my way back, and Eric, so am I. Simonovic, yes, so am I. And then Boyata said, yeah, me too. What, is it too soon? Kind of thing. So we've still got, say, 3 centre-halves to come back, 3 international centre-halves to come back at that. And that's including Effie. Know what I mean?
I was going to say, Desi, can I come in with two pointers, right? See the centre-half, the big boy for Croatia, Simonovic. I won't say who, but I've told you guys before, so I won't say it on here, but I know somebody who is involved with the club, who lives near me, and just in passing a couple of months ago, asked about Simonovic, and his words to me were, the boy is an outstanding centre-half, but I think he broke a bone in his toe or something, and the club didn't diagnose it at the time. He says, but he's watched him day in and day out at training and bounce games. The boy's an outstanding centre-half. So that's one thing to start with. But number two, as you were talking there about players and Roberts in particular, it got me thinking, if Forrest hopefully keeps fit and Sinclair and they keep playing really well, Roberts has got to play. How about playing him as number 10 in the free role? I think he could be dynamite in the free role, on top of the midfield, going left, going right. I think he'd cause chaos for the opposition. So that's something maybe that would be worth considering as well.
Just those 3 actually, Sinclair, Roberts and Forrest in a line, just changing whenever they felt like it.
Well, why not? It could be fantastic. It could be fantastic.
Brilliant.
Yeah, well, that actually was just what I was about to say too, actually, as in you've got that fluidity. It might be a bit lightweight, which was one of the things I thought of when... Can you hear me?
Mm-hmm.
That's fine, sorry. Which I thought of last night, especially when they had 2 goals in, whereby with players like Rogic, when we're looking to really kind of slow the game down, shut the opposition down, i.e. you're winning 3-0, you don't need to go hell for leather. With players like Rogic, who, let's be honest, couldn't tackle a fist upper, a proverbial fist upper, and I don't think he also did not have the legs to do that kind of chasing and harrying game, and to stop them getting kind of any ideas of possession and moving forward. So again, in Sinclair, I think Sinclair could probably play anywhere across that front 3 or just in behind Griffiths. So I mean that would be really good. And again, it also takes away your dependency on Patrick Roberts, a loanee, plus and maybe also gives him an additional taste of maybe this is something I want to be part of long term. I don't know how Pep Guardiola's got him, how interested he's going to be in Patrick Roberts in the next season, etc. But it would be good to give Patrick Roberts that that poser to consider in the summer? Do you want to go back to Man City, or do you want us to make them an offer for you to come here full time, knowing that he's playing with players like Sinclair and Forrest on the top of their game? Interesting. As Andy says, Beaton, again, I thought he done very well last night, nice and calm and measured. But again, I don't know if he's got the pressing game needed or the tackling game needed, especially. That's like, Ralph, you highlighted Callum McGregor. He is a bit of an unsung hero at the moment. He is doing a lot of the dirty work, a lot of the niggly wee tackles. It's no attractive. It's no, it doesn't catch the highlight reels, but it does stop the opposition getting anywhere.
Desi, can I just
Yeah.
I was going to come in McGregor, sorry, and it's a shame because I kind of wrote McGregor off when I first seen him come into the first team maybe 2 seasons ago, probably like most fans, and thought that boy he'll end up going on loan to Livingston or something, and that'll be the end of him. But he was one of the few kids who they won the last season. I thought he was one of our best players, but watching him the last couple of games, he just gets the ball, keeps it nice and easy, keeps it moving. And well, obviously I'd like to see a better player than him in there, but that boy's improved a hell of a lot. And I'd have to raise my hat and say, listen, so far so good. And I think he doesn't get enough credit. I think he deserves a lot more credit, McGregor, from probably all of us than he gets at present. So well done to him, and long may it continue.
Well done. We salute your admission of culpability there, Hector. You're not infallible.
Together, hasn't he? He's changed a lot since he got done for the drink driving, and he was going off the rails a wee bit. And I believe he moved back in with his parents. And he got his feet back on the ground. He stopped with the nightclubs, and he's just knuckled down and got on with it. Griffiths got a lot of praise for what he's done with his personal life, if you like. And again, McGregor's not getting any of it. He's just become a much more mature player. He does the simple stuff, like you say. He's what do you call it? What did Didier Deschamps, the kind of water carrier, as Cantona called him, just moving the ball from one player to another, linking up defence, midfield, attack.
He's a clever wee player, very clever. Yeah.
But I've highlighted on this before. Sorry, Andy, I highlighted it before. Johan Cruyff says, great footballers, they can do the simple things perfectly. As in, when they pass a ball, they don't just pass it to a guy. They pass it to his correct foot in front of him. That's what I did. Like, wee things you just take for granted, but obviously real football people can actually see straight away. And again, that's like one of the things that still annoys me with Celtic is a lot of the times they still don't pass the ball in front of, like, especially for Kieran Tierney. It always seems to be to pass the ball to Kieran Tierney's feet rather than 2 yards in front of him for running onto it. So I think that things like that is still to come. But for McGregor, I think he's done really well. And again, somebody like Forrest is probably looking at McGregor and going, that's the kind of effort and determination I've got to put in, and he's putting the same determination in, and it's all starting to pay off. So it's quite interesting.
I saw that last night. Just before we get to the corner where Griffiths took it and Dembele scored, you'll notice that the ball bounces in front of Forrest, it breaks to him, and he was holding himself. He'd obviously just finished a bit of a sprint, and he was holding himself, and he'd seen the ball, and he pounced on it straight away. It was like switching back on. And the concentration had sort of faltered for a minute, but as soon as it was back close to him, he was back on it, he got the shot off, it went out for a corner. And it's that kind of doing the wee extra bit that they're doing now that they weren't doing before. Although you could argue that they all switched off when they were jogging back towards the first goal.
Okay,
but that was the difference, I think.
But I'll give you one each, right, and just tell me future or no future, right, Andy? I'll give you the easy one to start with. Gary Mackay-Steven?
No future.
Okay. Hector? Stuart Armstrong? I'm avoiding Johansson's and Ambrose. I think we're all agreed that they're out the door.
The reason I'm pausing with Armstrong, right, is because I think there's a player there, and that's the but. If he's played in the left, there's not a player there. Is he going to get a game in the centre of mid? Probably not. So the answer's probably no then.
Yeah, it's strange, isn't it? Like, even like my daughter, we were talking about this last night, and my daughter says, I've not seen him grab a game yet for Celtic. And it's kind of true, and it's one of these, it's one of, he's going to, I think he's going to end up being one of the players you always wished was a great Celtic player, but it may just never have came to pass one way or another. Hopefully we're sitting in 2 years going,
Yeah.
hopefully we're sitting here in 2 years going, wow, what a change in a player, the way he changed his game, no, that sort of way. But at the moment, it doesn't appear to be. There's a place that suits where he's at least currently being played or where he has been played. Ralph, I'm trying to think of someone else
Well,
who.
if Brown gets an injury, Armstrong could fill in that job. As long as he's got somebody next to him to kind of help him out, like a Barton or somebody. Other than that, he's not going to make it on the wide side of midfield.
Well,
but it's an understudy, Brown. There's a chance there for him, yeah.
I'll give you a free, and you can see a quick free for you then. Beaton, Rogic, and Johansson. Ralph, do you think any name? We'll be there at the end of the season. I'll give you at the end of the season. Do you think any name will still be there at the end of the season? That includes the January window.
Well, Rogic, yeah, because he's just signed a new contract.
Okay, fair enough. Do you think he should be
whether or not he'll be a first team regular, I'm not entirely sure about that, because I think the fluid three will be the main choice, especially domestically when you're looking to entertain and run up a ruck of goals. Johansson, no, it's just a matter of finding somebody that will pay for him. And Beaton, if Beaton plays the way he can play with the attitude of, say, a Brown or a Forrest, then he'd be a fantastic player. But unfortunately, he's not quite got the desire, I think, to do well at Celtic, which is a shame because he could be a great player for the club. I think he'll end up somewhere else, a mid-table English team or something.
Yeah,
probably
in the Championship
this window. Yeah.
Yep.
No, mid-table Premier team.
Okay, well again,
Desi, one for you. Hold on.
Okay.
One for you. Okay. Do you think Efe Ambrose has a future at the club?
Well, I'm glad you asked me and you did not ask Ralph, because this could be the longest podcast ever if Ralph got to eulogise about Efe Ambrose Ballon d'Or, and it would be a shame to lose that song, to be honest. But I'm sure we could move it on to someone else. Dedrick Boyata Ballon d'Or, that springs to mind. Efe, no, I think he deserves. I don't know what age is Efe. Does anyone know what age Efe is really?
56.
Exactly what age is he really? Because there was a cracking cartoon in private eye years ago, and it was passport control, something like, and it was like Nigerian passport control, and it was like the two different things that they said, like add 10 years in brackets on the Nigerian passports. Efe, I think, deserves to go. We all were best wishes, like everybody else who leaves Celtic. Hopefully he gets a couple of quid wherever he ends up, either the USA or whatever. But no, he's
just to keep Ralph happy. Desi, just to keep Ralph happy, right? Last night, obviously Efe wasn't in the 18-man squad for the game last night, but rather than just go, into the main stand and, the players' lounge and all that sort of stuff, he was actually out before the game, half an hour before the game, mingling with and talking to the Celtic fans, kind of the Celtic way area, signing autographs, getting photographs taken, as usual, smiling all the time. And he's one of those players, isn't he? It's like, we know all the mistakes he's made, and he drives us crazy at times, but he's obviously a cracking guy. You all want him to do well, but you just know it's never going to happen. But anyway, that was for you, Ralph. Last night he was out there, photographs and everything.
Yeah, but you're not looking for someone to be a club ambassador while he's still get a jersey. That's not really how that role's meant to work. I know you're meant to be representing the club as well as you can, but that's a lie.
You could be a PR man. A PR man. There's one for Ralph.
All right, we'll come on to the PR in a second. But okay, so talking about PR, well done, Hector. That brings to the Palestine issue, and we're not going to discuss the actual geographical issue itself. It's the showing support amongst the crowd by waving Palestine flags last night. Right, and Ralph, you had a bit of a personal dilemma over the last few days, if you don't mind me highlighting it in the diary. You seem to suggest we should drop it, but then you had an epiphany last night.
Friday night on Twitter, it was full of people. We need to do this. We need to do this. We need to make sure that our voices are heard. And I thought, this is ridiculous. The way it was presented and the way I read it was a case of, we'll wave our flags and everything will go away and that'll be it, solved and sorted. And I'd been speaking to Tom Campbell, emailing him, and he reminded us, we were talking about the Ferencváros game that we were drawn against back in '69. And Kelly at the time decided, along with a lot of other people who didn't get so much publicity, that we weren't going to play them, and that was that. And if it meant we were not going to play in the tournament, then that's that as well. And in the end, the Eastern Bloc countries, they backed down, they withdrew, and I think we were drawn against St Etienne instead. Now, the way I look at things, and the way I've always looked at things, is if you're behind something, you're either in it or you're not. Now, waving the flags, etc., that's fine, and we'll maybe get fined. We might even get a stand closed, whatever. If we're going to do this, if we're going to get behind it, then we demand the club withdraws. It's as simple as that. We're not going to play them. It's an Israeli team. They're guilty of genocide. They're guilty of whatever else they're up to over there. There's 4 kids playing football. We don't want to be associated with the tournament, and let's them in. That's making a stand, as far as I'm concerned. Because I didn't think, and the epiphany came when I was looking through the responses worldwide, not just amongst our own support, but worldwide responses to what happened at the ground. And I think there's one that's got something like 500,000 hits per hour. There's a picture of like the respect banner and the flags in the corner. And I had no idea it would have that kind of effect. Now, what we do next and where we take it from there is, well, it's down to us. You know, volunteer agencies, we can do collections, but there's a start being made, and it's an encouraging start, and it's had the effect that I certainly didn't think it would. I just thought it would be another one of these things. It's over and done with, and people will, we've done that, and you're going to get fined. Doesn't matter. If you're going to get fined, you're going to get fined. And I think in the diary I put, look, there's never a wrong time to protest about this kind of thing. And that's the way it is. There's never a wrong time.
Yeah, well,
so now we're into it. Let's keep it going.
I was asked today by a Celtic guy in the work I was sitting with, talking to, and he was saying, "Oh, what's your thoughts and all that, etc." And I said, "Well, it's not my place to tell any Celtic fan how to behave, apart from the flares issue, which we've discussed in a previous podcast. But it's not my place." And I said, "But there is an issue whereby if we were to turn around and say, right, we're not going to protest, we're not going to allow people to protest, say, Palestine this time, this so we don't get kicked out of Europe, this so if the club's okay, what happens the next time? Because then you've set a precedent of we will step aside, we will stay quiet, even if it is, for this instance, just people say, oh, it was just the Green Brigade or whatever. You do end up basically cutting your own tongue out, and then your silence forevermore. So it is a case of, in my opinion now, again, if I'm a bit like you, rather than being ambivalent towards it, which I was, it's not really a big thing in my life, the whole Palestine thing is, but the actual protest, the right to protest and actual making a protest was something which did make you feel a bit of pride, or that certainly made me feel a bit of pride in actual Celtic support last night. It was quite strange. It followed on from a casino-based tifo of the "Let's Go All In." But Andybhoy, what was your thoughts on it at the game last night? Were you there with your party flag?
Quite like. I didn't have my flag, no. But I was perfectly happy with it. It's a simple protest. It's a simple show of support. We've got time to go into freedom of speech and all the rest of it, but I had no problem with it whatsoever. If we get a fine, we get a fine. And do you know what? If we get an Israeli team again in future European competition, I hope we do it again. Because it's something that needs highlighted. It's well televised. It's seen around the world. When you looked on Twitter last night, you saw the hits it was getting. It was quite a reaction. So I don't think it's Celtic that have got the big issue with it next. I think it's UEFA, because if they're saying that they're going to take disciplinary action against Celtic for it, I think UEFA are going to come under quite a lot of heat for it. I was perfectly happy with it. I'm kind of like you yourself. It's not the biggest thing in my life, but fair play to the guys that went for it and organised it. Thought it looked quite good as well. So that was my take.
Yep, Hector. Moving on a wee bit from that. So basically, say it occurred quarter to 8 the kick-off, right? By 1957, the Herald newspaper had apparently tweeted twice on it, asking what UEFA's reaction is going to be to this scandal. Were you surprised at all by the media reaction of immediate? Rather, the social media reaction was, say, very favourable, as Ralph and yourself were highlighting today and last night. But the actual Scottish media reaction to it, were you surprised, or is it just a case of the same old, same old?
It's who they are, isn't it? The Herald, the Evening Times, it's the same people who are involved, and we know who they get a lot of their stuff information from. It's Trainer and his mob involved in Level 5 PR. We know it's predictable, and the good thing about social media is the fans can all see through that now. And that didn't exist, as you know, back in the day, so it's all predictable. But sorry, Desi, can I just put my view across on this? Because it was interesting listening to you guys. It was all very good, valid points. I thought the way it was done was, if you're going to do something like that, I thought it was done in a way that was just really, really good. I sit with my two of my kids in the seats, the upper stand just above the Green Brigade section. So we've got a really good view of what's happening there. And it was all, as you say, the Celtic banner, Brendan Rodgers banner, all the colours were there, and all the Celtic songs. But what they did at the right moment was then they lifted up the Palestine flags. They never sung songs, they just lifted flags. And I thought that visual protest, saying, this is a Champions League qualifying match against a team from Israel, over 50,000 there, it'll be live around Europe. And to show that, I thought visually was a fantastic thing. They got it bang on, the supporters. It wasn't just the Green Brigade, that's the bit that was covered. There was all people around about me I could see who had Palestine flags as well, to be fair. And I thought it was done in a really good manner. Politics and sport, it don't make me laugh. You mentioned, Ralph mentioned Bob Kelly back in the day when the Russians invading Hungary, I think it was. And then the 1980 Olympics, when the boycott took place, was it the Americans refused to go to Russia, I think it was. Yep. It's always taken place. Even Mandela died. Did you ever have a 1 minute silence or something for Mandela in all the Champions League games, which I'm sure we all supported? So Israel's not even a part of Europe, and UEFA, by politics, allow them to play in Europe. And if the government of this country and other countries don't stand up for a group of people that have been so oppressed, then who can? And by doing a simple protest like that, I think it was great. And it's one of the things that makes me proud of our football club, is our fans. They do things that others talk about, they do it. And I think it raised the bar last night. So God bless them. And if it happens again, like you, Andy, fully support the support doing the exact same thing again.
Okay, that was Hector on behalf of the PLO.
If we'd have won that game 5-0, right, we could have refused to play in Israel, took a 3-0 defeat and still went through, and then everybody would have been happy.
Our board would never do that. That's the thing, though. That's the difference. It was Bob Kelly who said to UEFA, the Celtic Board, Peter Law and these guys would never dare do such a thing, which is why the support are doing it. These guys are there for the money. The support will always be there, and that's the argument we've had for years on here. They don't care about anything apart from that dollar, that pound, that euro. The support is what drives Celtic. That's the support, and always will drive Celtic.
Right, okay, this part that anger for a second, Hector, because we're coming on to that.
No, it's absolutely.
No, I mean,
right. It's depressing.
Of course, yes, exactly, but it's
depressing to an extent.
We've got a really good example to highlight in a second. But staying with last night, Ralph, we now come on to your persona non grata at Celtic Park. You have waged a one-man campaign to improve the PR at Celtic Park, and I am not. This is not a vindictive campaign. This is like the James Forrest, Scott Sinclair scenario. It's all about raising the quality of individuals, and the team within Celtic, and that includes the actual professionals working both on and off the park. Celtic's PR, you have had quite a few goes at them, and as being a marketing expert yourself, you're well qualified to speak on this, right? Last night at the press conference for the Champions League, after one of the most exhilarating and also one of the most talked about games, due to again the whole Palestine thing, etc., etc., due to one of the most controversial and interesting, let's say, Champions League games of the evening and the week, one of the Scottish hacks, I'm not going to call him a journalist, was given the opportunity to ask a question of Brendan Rodgers, to which he was asked, Brendan, do you have anything to say about Joey Barton saying you've had a midlife crisis? What do you think should happen to the PR guy at Celtic Park, Ralph, for allowing such nonsense?
I'm still not sure. I'm still not even sure there is one. I'm pretty sure there's an office there that's got public relations written on it, and I'm sure 9 o'clock every Monday morning there's a fella turns up and he plans his week and he gets home again on Friday at 5, and that's it. Because in between time he doesn't do a bloody thing, and to allow that to happen last night. First thing you do, you're doing a press conference and you control who comes in. You do the press conference at the time you say it is, and you tell the journalists that if they're not there, they're not getting in. You will then tell the journalists what we are here to discuss. If they want to discuss something else, that can be done at another time, at another place. We're here to discuss the Champions League match. We're here to discuss how the team went on, how the manager feels, and you can see how the journalist, it's Robert Grieve from The Sun, I believe. That's what I've read today.
Yeah.
Now,
so
I don't know if it is him, but I've seen a picture of him, and he looks like the kind of guy that would ask that kind of question. Right? My old man used to always say to me, you can tell which ones are on our side and which ones are on their side just by looking at their face, or their profile, to use a marketing word. He's went in and he said that. Now, Rodgers obviously wasn't expecting a question because he's kind of clear. And he's like, no, I've no idea. Instead of saying, or the PR guy interrupting, saying, right, you were told, that's it, you're not getting into the next one. And that's how you control it. You have to control it, because otherwise it ends up like one of your podcasts where we go off on all sorts of different tangents. The thing is, they're there to discuss the Champions League. The questions should have only been about the Champions League. And anybody that doesn't ask questions about that doesn't get in again. Or, if you want to make an example, you fling them out. You say, right, you were told not to ask that. Why are you wasting our time? There's the door. Simple as that. And by doing that, you've made an example of somebody, and nobody else will ask any more questions. It's ridiculous that they even... And they'll do that. That's the Scottish media for you. They need to make them relevant. They need to make this Joey Barton. And am I thinking we missed out on a great defensive midfielder here? Is this your Andrea Pirlo kind of player that we should have? We're not. It's a guy... He was in the paper as well today criticising Pep Guardiola for the way he's treating Joe Hart. This is a guy that stubbed a cigar out in somebody's face and training a kid. He stubbed a cigar out in a kid's face. And he's accusing somebody else of treating somebody badly. Yeah, the man's a nonsense. There isn't a team in England that would touch him, and yet he's been raised a Champions League game. He's never played Champions League football. He never will play Champions League football. And we allowed him to become the topic of conversation at one of our press conferences. The guy should be... I've said it a million times. The guy in charge of PR should either be sacked or sent to a training course. And I'll tell you what, I'll do the training course for him. Yeah. It involves him being sacked.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to the next time you get to chat in the boardroom or with JP Taylor. That could be very interesting.
It's ridiculous. Don't get me started on that bloody pink strip. I seen somebody in the crowd wearing it, by the way. You were at the game. You should have hunted him down and took off him.
Well, to be fair, was it really pink?
That was me that had it on.
It's not really pink, is it? It's more a kind of damask, I would say. It's not really pink. It's more
salmon.
It's a salmon
pink.
It's like an episode of Zoolander.
Okay. I'll leave the PR guy with you, Ralph. Andybhoy, let's move. Looking forward, looking on to next week then. So how are we going to play it? Are you confident that we can see it out comfortably, or is it going to be the typical Celtic away? We can see the goal in the first 10 minutes, and then it's squeaky bum time. as they would say?
No, I think we'll go there quite confident. I think it might be very similar to Astana away, where for parts of it we controlled it. We didn't really do that much at times, but I wouldn't say I'm laid back, but I'm reasonably relaxed about it. I definitely think we'll score. We've got the players to pull their midfield all over the place. If Roberts is back, I think that could almost guarantee a goal, because I think he would have a lot of fun there. Fullbacks were there in body, but I don't know if they were there in mind as well, because our centre backs were getting pulled a bit all over the place. No, I think next week we should be absolutely fine. Not that I don't think the players will be thinking this way, but the fact that we can go over there and get beat 2-0 and still go through is it's quite reassuring, because they'll also have to think, the other mob will be thinking, wait a minute, they stuck 5 past us last week. I think they'll be more scared of us than we will be of them. So I think we're going to be absolutely fine. I don't think it's going to be a squeaky bum time. I just don't see. I think we're a far better team than they are, and I think we'll go over. And I think at worst we'll get a draw. I think we could well win this game.
Okay, very good. Good confidence. Hector, I'm assuming you're the same. You can have a few comments on it if you like, or else we can move on to the next topic, which I think you may have a few words on.
No, I think Andy covered it fairly
Lovely.
well there.
Okay. Andy was saying there he reckons we can possibly win it, and also if Patrick Roberts comes back, then we'll have a really good chance we could at least generate a goal through that young man's skill. Do we want to... Patrick Roberts is the sort of guy, Hector, that people pay good money to go and watch, right? He excites you, he gives you that smile on your face watching a genuine ball dribbler, a guy who takes on defenders, etc. Yes, exactly. You know you like a good ball dribbler. But how much, Hector, do you think is too much to ask someone to watch someone like Patrick Roberts? Would, for instance, £49 be too much to ask a Celtic fan to pay to watch Patrick Roberts? And if anyone's wondering why I'm asking that is the price. That is the price being asked of Celtic fans to pick up certain seats against Rangers in the upcoming new quotes Old Firm game on September the 10th. Hector, have you any thoughts on that? Do you think we should have a protest against that as well as on a par with the Palestine protest?
Oh, you know they're very different, obviously, right? You can either pay your money or don't pay your money. I think it's very different. Listen, the thing that annoys me more than anything is that for those 4+ years when Rangers died and Newco came into the bottom tier and there's no more Old Firm, in that one move, the Celtic Board have showed why the Old Firm will always exist, because it's done for money and it's done at boardroom level. When we go to Ibrox, I bet you any money it's £49 for a Celtic ticket in the Broomloan stand.
Sorry, Hector. It's £49 for Celtic fans at Celtic Park. It's £52 for Rangers fans at Celtic Park.
It'll be £52 every go there. It'll be £52 at Ibrox.
I thought you couldn't charge a different price.
No, apparently
you charge the same price.
I believe
can't charge a home supporter any less than
maybe it's a booking fee, etc. But I'm sure the prices I saw quoted were £49.
The cost of disinfecting them when they come into the ground.
And
that'd be a lot more than £3.
Yeah, I don't know if any of you saw it. And again, it was one of the things. I had no intention of getting involved in an argument about Celtic's ticket pricing structure, etc. But again, it was just one of the things you wake up, you're heading into work, you go into Twitter and you start to see your usual Celtic fans or followers or whatever, the people we follow on Twitter, etc., all starting to voice these strange angry tweets. And it's like, that's a bit weird for, like, say, 9 o'clock on a Tuesday morning or whatever it was. This is a bit weird. Or Monday, I think it was Monday, especially the fact that it was announced before the Champions League. Before this big game, the Champions League last night, it was announced a few days before. And I pinged John Paul Taylor, the Celtic support liaison officer, to ask why are these tickets so dear? Is it due to the pricing, or is it due to the policing, extra policing costs, or is perhaps that covered by the extra TV revenue? And John Paul Taylor, to be fair, he came back. He didn't hide or whatever, but he came back and just went, "It's to meet market demand. This game will sell out." And you can imagine the replies that came into that. It was people were not too happy. Sorry, Andy.
You can't argue with that. That's the case. They'll sell the tickets, so they might as well charge you up for them. That's a business decision. They'll not sell one to me right now if I'm not interested in it. Until
Andy?
the game when they ring up and say you're coming.
Tell us, Stu, where he's coming from. The deadline for upgrade concession tickets is the 23rd, and there's 4 of us in the group of season tickets. There's 2 adults, there's me and my mate, and we take our boys to the games, and there's no way we're taking them to that game. So we pinged out the group text to say there's 2 tickets, it's 49 quid a pop. We had 2 replies within 2 minutes. They'll take. We could have had 10 of them at 49 quid. So I think there is the market demand. I don't particularly agree with it. I don't really like it. But you don't want to start sounding like Hugh Keevins, start saying, there could be 100,000 at £49 and they would still sell it and all that.
Is that your real voice there, Andy, that you were starting to use for a second?
No, I just held my nose.
Wow, if I just get an idea for a future podcast. We're the same down here. We've had a core of maybe 6, 7, 8 people that have been getting up over the last 3 or 4 years, and the amount of text messages we're getting. Hello, Rich. How you doing? Are you at the game tonight? And we must have had, at least within the last couple of weeks, maybe a dozen people just making sure we're still going. And then that little question at the end, will you be getting up to the Rangers game? And it's each to their own. Yeah, maybe they don't know as much or care as much about what's went on over the last 4 years and all the implications of it. But to be honest, I've not missed them, and I couldn't care less whether I see them again. Simple as that. However, having said that, when we take about 10 off them, there will be a wee bit of a smile on my face. But that's more of a hit at the establishment than the club itself.
Hector, you hit on a good point there, as in when we go to Ibrox. So Rangers are apparently giving Jolie and Lescott a medical tonight, and Aston Villa are going to pay part of his final year's salary. So exactly how much are the Rangers International FC going to try and fleece the Celtic fans for on that day to help pay for these crazy wages that they must be giving to players like Barton and Lescott, and I think there's a guy for Preston or whatever they're trying to sign at the moment for 1.5 million over 2 years. But strangely, that deal's taking strange wee delays for some reason.
Listen, it'll be the same price. We give them 7,000 tickets rather than give them 3,000. But a Champions League night, we give our away team that corner 3,000. They'll get 7,000 at Celtic Park, and they'll give us 7,000 at Ibrox, the Brimley Road Road End, and you'll find the tickets will be pretty much the same price. As I said to you, the old firm exists, it's in the boardroom, and it's never going to go away. And that's how it started in the first place, and that's just reality. I don't like it, we don't like it. The guys in suits, they make decisions. They've worked together to maximise as much money as they can from the fans, and it's never going to change.
And they've been looking forward to them coming back. I've heard people around in the offices up the stair. I've heard people saying it, and they've actually, don't worry, they'll be back next year. We'll be all right. And you think, that's not the way it is, because we'll just get a repeat of all the crap we've had to put up with for the last 100 years, and it's all been swept under the carpet. Well, it's not all been swept under the carpet. There's things afoot, obviously. See if
the club had said, right, what we're going to do is we're going to give you that corner section of 3,000 tickets, right, which is what the standard for every other team we play pretty much. If they said, right, that's what you're getting, then what we'll do is we'll keep it at a Champions League price, which is about £36 a ticket. See if they did that, I would say that's fine. I would actually support, well done. But they just became lazy and arrogant and did what we always thought they were going to do and hoped they wouldn't. and they're giving them 7.5. It's as if it's the same thing over again. 7,500, and let's rip the piss out the fans. And that's why we're bored, why we get so angry with them. Rodgers, we're in a feel-good position now with Brendan Rodgers. He's not spent much money, but he's doing great. The place is jumping right now. And yet we've got that board who just, they don't give a damn. They don't. All they care about is money and maximising money out of our pockets. That's all they care about.
And thus it ever was, and thus it ever will be.
Well said there, Hector. But again, it leads us on to something very nice, something very well linked, I should say. Ralph, in the diary.
Something nice sounds better.
Yeah, sorry, something nice and well linked. Ralph, this week in the diary, you were urging everyone to pick up a copy of Not the View from last night, due to a certain page 14, I believe. Would you like to have a quick discussion on that?
Right, somehow it's got out. Right, as far as I'm aware, it wasn't supposed to be out, but someone, I've no idea who.
You think it was possibly leaked at the Etims meetup?
No, because mine, they took the letter back half as. I was trying to slide it under the table, and you were sitting closer to the door than I was. But there was no chance he was getting away with it. The letter exists. We've seen it. We've read it. We've read it over and over again. It does categorically say that they are not the same club.
In the words of whom? Who says it?
It's a fella, I couldn't read his signature, but it's a UEFA guy. Because if you remember, we tried to plough through the legalese at first, and there was about 3 pages of that, and then there's that one paragraph that absolutely categorically says what's going on. Now, how that's out there now. It wasn't supposed to come out yet, but it's out there, and we're all trying to find out how. I've got my suspicions, believe me. I don't think it's anybody that we've met.
Sorry, Hector.
The guy that wrote the letter, Andrea Traverso, the head of club licensing and financial fair play.
Financial fair play.
So it's in. I never got a copy. I wasn't up there. So it's in there then, definitely, yeah. Yeah. Oh,
absolutely. Page 14.
I'm glad it's out. I'm just wondering where it came from.
Yeah. So if anyone's listening, have a look about for Not the View. Probably online now, and also I think you alluded to it in a diary today, Ralph, in today's diary. So if anyone wants to go and have a look at the letter from UEFA's fair play guy, just remarking on Sevco and Rangers and the clear distinction, then it's always worth a read.
It all comes back to the Resolution 12 thing, and it's not. This isn't what Resolution 12 is about. It's the whole same club thing. It's getting dragged into it to discredit the guys, and they've done a lot of work. It's all about what happened with the SFA back in 2011. It's all about the collusion. It's all about the Armageddon thing, and there's something not right about the whole thing at this stage now.
Yeah,
so,
but Ralph, Ralph. Right, sorry, mate. The up to this point, realistically, the focus has been on Neil Doncaster. No one really likes him. Andybhoy.
Phoned me back.
That's right, Hector. Rich was to have a weekend chat with Neil Doncaster. Weekend of the Etims meetup.
I showed you the email, didn't I? I am more than happy to discuss your ideas. I get myself.
Right. Well, hold on, Ralph. Ralph, wait a minute. Do you know what happens when someone from the Mount Florida offices fails to attend a meeting these days?
No.
That's when you engage the Daily Record in Level 5 PR. Andybhoy, have you been following any of this story that Stuart Regan is incompetent because he failed to have a meeting with a Rangers representative following the Scottish Cup final investigation?
I think you find it was also an informal meeting that he never turned up for. I mean, the audacity of the man not turning up for an informal meeting. What else could he have possibly been doing? Not that I'm playing the wee Wallace show or anything here, but I'm just reading that UEFA letter again, and we've got CC, Scottish Football Association, and Celtic PLC.
Oh,
I won't say any more. On that one. Yes, an informal How anyone can miss an
Wait a minute.
is-
Hold on. Let's jump to some conclusions here, right? Because I've been
Yes.
thinking about this for days. Right.
Ex-
Let's totally leap out into the wild blue. Let's run a few things past, as they say in these meetings with flip charts at the end. Right, that's went out there, yeah? A lot of people wondering where it's come from. Stuart Reagan's in bother. Celtic's getting bad publicity. We always get bad publicity. The club always gets bad publicity for the supporters. Stuart Reagan's getting his pals, the ones he stood up for, the ones he colluded with, have turned on him. Wonder if he's turning on them.
Yep.
Wonder if he's...
Mm.
Well, what was that CC bit there again?
SFA and Celtic was copied.
I need to look at that. I need to look at that. I'm not up till Saturday. I'm not up till the
Okay.
game.
Okay,
We'll come back to that later.
That's that. I'll
do some of that stream of consciousness.
We'll visit that at a future date. But we'll come on to something positive, Hector.
I'm allowed to say I don't care.
That's exactly what I was going to say. Because I was going to say, Hector, because you could have possibly fallen asleep at that, because like most of the listeners, because a lot of people really are ultra ambivalent about it. But to bring us back to a positive note, Hector, and you can be as quick on this as like, or as lengthy as you like, the Celtic Colts in the Cup, the only young team left in the Cup. That's been a nice wee progression for those boys, and I think they're playing Livingston after the draw today.
Yeah, they won the first game. They played out at Morton's Park, wasn't it? The first round was at Annan. They beat 5-1, I think it was. Then Cowdenbeath, good old Donald Findlay's shite.
The man with two birthdays.
Yeah, to be fair to Donald, though, he did. Ralph, to be fair, Ralph, he did say Rangers are dead. Donald Findlay, they hate him now as well. And he's defending Craig White. In his trial. Oh, God bless him. I never thought I'd say that about him. So yeah, we've got Livingston next. So
did you just say God bless Donald Findlay?
Yeah, I know.
That's the title of tonight's podcast.
I apologise to everyone around the world for that. What was the point again? Livingston, great club. So next round, good for them, under 20s. Livingston should beat us because they're second tier. So that's a step up from Annan and then Cowdenbeath. But you know what? Good experience for the boys. I've heard though that a lot of the fans of clubs of the other teams in those divisions are a bit pissed off with the Colts coming in. So, and I can kind of get that to a degree, right? But at the same time, I think the Colts should be in the lower leagues of Scottish football in the league. They do it in Holland, they do it in France, they do it in Spain. Why don't we do it here? You know, imagine Celtic didn't have a game on, it was international weekend, if you go and watch the Colts play, I would go and watch them. So absolutely. I just don't know why we don't tap into that and probably bring more money into the Scottish game as well, but that's a different topic altogether.
And of course it helps the boys to develop, and they're not all going to make the grade in the first team, but if you can keep them in the Scottish game for a couple of years longer, it strengthens other teams as well before they go away south or wherever to make money. It's all about building the game up here, and it's one of the things that needs to be done, because otherwise they're just lost here. They'll end up going back to university or going back to school or whatever, and it's an opportunity missed if you don't do it. It's great to see them involved just now. Is there teams from Wales or something coming in as well, or Northern Ireland?
That's the ludicrous thing. There's 2 Welsh and 2 teams
the Celtic
from the north of Ireland. I was going to say though, just on that, right? With Celtic again, right? If they did do the right thing and say, right, even Rangers as well, under 20s, put them in the bottom division, and it was alternate matches. I'm not saying they played at Celtic Park, but imagine they played at Morton's Ground or Albion Rovers, whatever. You could easily get 4,000 or 5,000 when Celtic's playing the Sunday away match if they were at home that day. I just don't see why they don't do it. It just doesn't make sense. Anyway.
Well there you are.
That's right. Okay. Hector, I'll give you a minute to get yourself ready for tonight's Etims Twitter question. I know you've put one out regards a certain man's accent, so I'll let you gather yourself.
There's a lack of interest in it, Desi, to be fair.
No, there's not. I've got 9 replies. I can see 9 replies.
9, is it?
That's all we need.
All right.
That's a start. Okay. No, but before I forget, this talking about youth there, Andybhoy, I noticed Liam Henderson was on the bench last night. Do you think we could see more of him this season, or do you think that was just a making up the numbers exercise?
I would I'd like to see more of him. I think there's a good player in there. I know a guy whose son played in the same Celtic development side as him up until about under 18 level, I think. And he says Henderson ran every single game at that level. He was head and shoulders above anyone in the country. I still think he's obviously got a fair bit to go, but I was talking to a friend of mine earlier on about Henderson, and we were saying, do we sell him? Do we keep him? Do we loan him? And me kind of thought, best thing to do, maybe this season is maybe another loan deal, but possibly a Premier League team. I don't know, a smaller team. Maybe, don't want to be too far away. Maybe he could help Rangers out a wee bit,
But he's a bit young. Rangers. He's a bit young for him, to be fair.
It's true. I think, what was it, a 3-year deal he got last season? When he went to Hibs and loan, did we give him 3 years or 4 years? Because I know he got a new contract.
There's a lot of 4-year deals floating about, wasn't there, for some of the youngsters?
It
was until they were trying to build something, and you thought maybe you'd get fruition a couple of years down the line.
Because the captain in under-20s last year, Joe Thompson, he got a deal as well. He's a central midfielder as well. He's quite a good player. Looks like a kind of younger Scott Brown in the games I've seen him. I would say keep Henderson, but possibly look for another loan deal. But I would maybe like to see him in the Premier League this time. I know that Hibs are quite keen on him again, but I think the step up again and just see if he can handle a full season in the Premier League, or see how much it brings him on, because there's definitely a player there, similar to what we were saying about Stuart Armstrong earlier, because if he goes in future, you'd be thinking, I wish he became a great Celtic player. I think there's something there. Do you think there's something there?
See, Henderson was on the bench last night. That's interesting,
Yes, I'm glad you're listening. I'm glad you're listening, Hector.
Oh. I was getting a glass of wine, Desi, sorry.
I think, with the Champions League coming up in the long season, and you've seen how many centre-halves we've got injured just now, I think we need to keep as many of these players as we can, realistically, the ones that want to stay and fight for a place, because I have a feeling we'll probably, come February, March, April, with suspensions and injuries and all that we'll probably need them, and there won't be too big a drop in quality, especially domestically. So I would hate like hell to get to 5 and have to start all over again next year.
Okay then, so who are we dropping for this weekend's game? Who is it this week? St Johnstone?
It's a tough game, that. It's a tough game.
I think I'd be happy enough with a draw, to be fair. St Johnstone are doing very well, and no harm in it.
Don't talk shite, a draw with St Johnstone.
No, if it came... Listen, my question was, who are we dropping? Whereby I'd be quite happy to drop the entire first team and play the kids against St Johnstone this weekend if it meant we were prioritising next Tuesday. Next Tuesday, Champions League. If we're prioritising next week. So I'm quite happy to put the SPFL to the side for at least another week.
But look at the players, right? Okay, so Azagiri would probably come in at left back. He's possibly the second best left back in Scotland.
Yep.
Sviatchenko will probably get a start now. He was the bench last night. Yep. He's a very good defender. He'll come in. You'd imagine the boy Janko will play it right back. Midfield, as mentioned, Armstrong's there, Henderson's there, Rogic, Roberts is coming back. Dembele will probably start on Saturday. I mean, we've got loads of good players there who, should be able to get out and you think beat St Johnstone if they play well comfortably.
Slava.
Exactly.
As strong a team as we can, at least for the first hour, and then let people have a rest. Keep the momentum going. Don't like when you get these teams that win their first 2 games in the World Cup tournament, and then they change it all for the third one, and then almost immediately they fall apart and go out in the next round. Keep the momentum going. Don't make changes unless you have to. Toure, maybe he'll need a wee break, and that allows Sviatchenko to come back in. Janko for Lustig, like you said, but the rest
Gordon, do we play Gordon? Do we rest Gordon and bring the new guy in?
The guy, no, I'm not sold on this new keeper.
Player of the year, not Forest last year. Daniel Story of Football 365. He said they were very sad to see him go. I asked him, and he said they were very sad to see him go. Apparently, he used to, was it Dunfermline or Dundee, the guy used to play for? Falkirk.
He did, yeah, we didn't. Yeah, we weren't interested in him then, so I don't think.
But goalkeepers mature. They're like Hector's wine, they mature with age. Buckfast Deluxe.
God bless us.
No, stay with. Mind you, having said that, you're right. Does Gordon need a break? He's not had a break.
Only played 6 games.
His age, same age as you.
No, I think games. I mean, ready to rest anybody.
Try and keep the defence settled. Try and at least let them get to know each other, so that they'll recognise each other in the street if they're out doing the shopping with their wives or something. Keep the defence as settled as you possibly can.
I cannot believe not one of you has asked for Effie Ambrose to get a start this weekend. That is sad. How soon you forget that guy's out mingling with the crowd last night. Hector's got a tear in his eye.
Well, no, he wasn't mingling with the crowd. He was trying to find his seat. He's bought a season book.
He was trying to get a spare ticket.
He was trying to find his name. He was trying to find his name on the wee plaque outside. Ralph had bought one. Effie love always Ralph, and he's trying to find it. Just to the left of brother. Just to the left of brother Wolford.
The true story about Effie was he was in Celtic Way last night, and he was actually trying to find his statue on Celtic Way last night. And he was there all night without success.
I thought you were going to say, and he moved so slow, people thought there was an Effie statue.
It's just everybody blames him. He's a convenient scapegoat, and the guy, you don't win African Cup winners' medals without with being a bad player. It's a wrong club for him, and it's better for him if he moves on. Probably better for us as well.
That's it. He's had his time. Thanks very much. Put us right. It's like the joke that I often like to talk about. Knock knock. Who's there? Charlie Mulgrew. Who? That's football. You know what I mean? We all move on. That's how it works. So like
got all about Charlie Mulgrew.
Exactly. So it'll be the exact same for Effie Ambrose. It'll just be thanks very much. Move on. Right, Hector.
Chris Commons. Yeah.
Well, this is it. He's coming back to fitness allegedly, but Chris Commons is now being reduced to being a meme with Usain Bolt. So when you start,
that was outstanding, wasn't it?
Well, it was brilliant, but that's when you start going down the Effie Ambrose ridicule road, then you're knowing a long-term plan for the Celtic manager. So thanks very much, Chris. He was really, really, really good, and best of luck finding somewhere else. Hopefully it's not in Aberdeen or something, and he comes back to haunt us. Right, so Hector, you put out on the Etims Twitter tonight, Cutting an Etims podcast. Hold on, my phone's cut out. Cutting Etims podcast, question for the internet bampots. If Brendan's is a midlife crisis, how would you describe Joey Barton's French accent? Okay, Hector, have you got any replies there? I can see 9.
I'm trying to find them. Hold on.
I can start with the first one. Liam,
you go for it.
Okay, Liam Reid replied, like most things that Barton does, only attention seeking. Okay, and then Brendan First, or F1 RST, Brendan First, just trying to fit in, like naming your horse, We Are the People. By the way, I bet he had no pals when he was a boy. Has anyone actually named their horse We Are the People? Is that an actual horse? Does anybody know?
Apparently Joey Barton did, aye.
No, you're kidding on. That's true?
Apparently.
Oh.
Apparently I saw it in Kerrydale Street. I don't know if it's true or not, but...
The horse is on Kerrydale Street? That's talent.
Aye, because it's next to Effie Ambrose. That's how he got to the Celtic Way last night. He just rode the
horse and a donkey. There's a horse and a donkey on Kerrydale Street. Okay. Quite a few folk have went with the same. Revival went with a low picture gags, which are a bit hard to express on a podcast. But a lot of them went with Bon de douche. Hashtag only fools and horses, which I quite like. And again, some people just take it too serious. Gav Campbell, he's trying too hard to come across as intelligent and cultured. Thank God we never try and do that on this podcast.
My favourite ones, though, is from educated malcontent. So the question is, we're cutting a podcast. Question for the Bartons. If Brendan's in a midlife crisis, how would you describe Joey Barton's French accent? Educated malcontents come back and goes, "What's happened to Rumour Mill? I love that man."
He actually works for the Sun as a Champions League reporter. Surely Ralph, as the head of Etims PR, you should not have allowed that tweet to come through. We should not. You should resign on the spot, Ralph. Very good. So that was us. So I think we can wrap it up there. So it was a very entertaining game last night. And that gave us plenty to talk about. I will go and edit it. So Andybhoy at least is very confident for next week. Hector, I'm assuming you're the same.
I don't know if we'll win, but we'll go through.
Yeah. So Ralph, are we all going to be sitting eagerly a week from today, waiting on the Friday draw? Finally, for once, no Kerner.
I think if Red Bull, Roma, Ajax, and somebody else go out, and there's a very good chance they all will, we move up to pot 3. Which would be an astonishing achievement in his first season, because that gives us a chance at Europa League football.
You can't get credit for Red Bull getting pumped, can he?
He can.
Brendan Rodgers, miracle man. But let's not forget, God bless Donald Findlay. And I think that's the phase in which we should end tonight's podcast. So I'd just like to say thank you to Hector Bandito.
Thank you, guys.
Thank you to Andybhoy.
Thank you very much.
And last of all, not least, thank you, Ralph Mouth.
Cheers, enjoyed it. Thanks.
Okay, folks, thank you for listening. Let's have a song played out for Donald Findlay. Thank you and good night.
You the one that's been to the traditional Scottish band?
Yeah, that's right. Yep.
That's them now, right?
Oh, thanks.
Oh, they're great. They'll
They're
love
good,
these
yeah.
guys. Oh, they're
Thanks very much. Thank you. Hi, I'm Jay Levinson, Paul Simon's agent.
Hello there, you all right, my friend?
Yeah, now, don't tell me, you are the band, right?
That's right, no more lose, I ain't about the band away.
Now listen, you know why I want to meet you, yep?
No, remind me again.
Right, Paul Simon is looking for ethnic music to exploit, to feature on his next album. And he's decided to look at the music of Scotland, so who knows, you guys could end up playing in Paul Simon's next million-selling album, you know?
Oh, we hear about a million-selling album, eh?
We're getting a little touring now.
Oh, aye, all the concerts and all the parties, you know.
Baby, all the stars,
So, tell me, when would this recording take place?
Oh, early July.
Oh, that's a bad thing for us. You see, we've a lot of matches on in Wisha then, you know.
Well, we can talk dates later. Let's talk music, right? Oh, listen, what kind of drum is that?
That's a big drum.
Right, tell me, do you do anything to the skin to improve the sound?
Oh, toot, pal, don't bother, eh?
That's Paul Simon. Isn't he a Catholic, is he?
He's Jewish.
Oh, but is he a Catholic Jew or a Protestant Jew?
Why don't you give me a demonstration of your drumming, eh?
Oh, sure, eh?
Right.
Well, I normally do this. But on very, very special occasions, I do this.
Special occasions?
Now, you know, when we're passing a pineapple, you know, the chapel cat, you know.
Hey, don't tell me. Is that Derry's Walls or the green grassy slopes?
Aye.
Right, hey, listen, do you have an all-time favourite, like a greatest hit?
Oh, aye. That has to be the sash my father wore.
All right, and which key do you play it in?
Key?
Which musical key is it? C, G, D?
Oh, C, definitely D. 'Cause it goes D, D, D.
Listen, I'm sorry. I think I've wasted enough time here already. I mean, this was obviously a bad idea. This band you call yourself, it hasn't got one musical bone in its entire body. Goodbye.
Do you hear that? Do you be straight up at us?
Oh, I don't worry about it. What does she know? Nothing at all. I mean, since when did playing in an orange band have anything to do with music, you know?
God bless Donald Findlay before you go.
God bless Donald Findlay.